Introduction. In the realm of human connection, the smallest words often carry the greatest power. Attraction isn't always about looks, wealth, or status. It's about the subtle ways we make others feel understood, valued, and drawn to our presence. Stoic wisdom teaches us that influence comes not from manipulation, but from authenticity and emotional mastery. Sometimes, all it takes is a few intentional words to shift the energy of an interaction and create a bond that feels natural and magnetic. In this lesson, we'll uncover 4 simple words that, when spoken with sincerity and grounded confidence, can open doors to trust, respect, and attraction, showing you how timeless Stoic principles apply to modern relationships. 1. Words carry energy. Words are not just sounds or symbols. They are carriers of energy that can uplift, heal, or deeply wound the human spirit, and once spoken, their impact cannot be undone. When we say something kind, encouraging, or loving, we generate a vibration that uplifts both the speaker and the listener, creating an atmosphere of trust, peace, and connection. In the same way, harsh, careless, or negative words can linger in someone's heart for years, shaping how they view themselves and the world around them. This is why many ancient traditions and philosophies remind us that speech is a powerful tool, whether in Stoicism, which teaches restraining the tongue, or in spiritual wisdom, which emphasizes blessings and affirmations. Science, too, shows that words influence thought patterns. The brain responds to positive language by reducing stress and increasing motivation, while negative language triggers fear, defensiveness, and self-doubt. Think of how a single phrase like, "I believe in you," can ignite courage in someone on the verge of giving up, or how words of criticism, spoken without care, can destroy confidence in seconds. Every conversation we have is like planting seeds. Our words can sow hope, strength, and clarity, while they can plant weeds of doubt and resentment. Becoming aware of this power means choosing our words mindfully, not only in how we speak to others, but also in how we speak to ourselves. Self-talk is especially potent, for the words we repeat internally become beliefs, and those beliefs shape our actions and destiny. Saying to yourself, "I am capable, I am growing, I am worthy," channels an energy that builds resilience and attracts opportunities, whereas repeating, "I'm not good enough," drains your spirit and closes doors. Understanding that words carry energy also teaches us the value of silence. Sometimes the most powerful energy we can transmit is through holding back a reaction or allowing space for peace rather than filling the air with negativity. Leaders, teachers, parents, and partners who grasp this principle become more intentional, realizing that their words can either create a safe environment where growth flourishes or a hostile one where people retreat. Even casual conversations or jokes carry hidden energy, so dismissing words as just words is a mistake. They imprint memories, shape emotions, and ripple outward in unseen ways. To live wisely, one must treat words as sacred instruments. Speak with clarity instead of confusion, encouragement instead of criticism, and truth instead of deception. When you master your speech, you elevate not only your own vibration, but also the energy of those around you. Ultimately, to recognize that words carry energy is to understand that language is not merely communication. It is creation, capable of building bridges or burning them, capable of healing or harming. The choice rests with us, and every word we speak becomes a reflection of the energy we choose to release into the world. 2. Stoic approach to communication. The Stoic approach to communication is rooted in wisdom, self-control, and a deep respect for truth, making a powerful tool for building stronger relationships and resolving conflicts with clarity and grace. At its core, Stoicism teaches that we cannot control how others speak to us, but we can always control how we respond. And this principle transforms communication into a practice of discipline rather than impulsivity. Instead of reacting with anger, defensiveness, or pride when faced with harsh words or misunderstandings, the Stoic communicator pauses, takes a breath, and asks, "What is within my power here?" This shift in perspective allows speech to flow from reason rather than emotion, ensuring that words are deliberate, purposeful, and free from unnecessary harm. The Stoics value truth above flattery or manipulation, so they urge people to speak honestly, but also with kindness, moderation, and timing, recognizing that truth delivered harshly can wound rather than heal. Epictetus often reminded his students to listen more than they spoke, for listening requires humility, patience, and a willingness to understand before being understood. Traits that turn conversations into opportunities for learning rather than battles for dominance. The Stoic approach also warns against gossip, idle chatter, or speaking merely to fill silence, since words are tools of virtue and should not be wasted on what is trivial or destructive. Instead, communication should be guided by the four Stoic virtues: wisdom, by knowing what to say and when to say it; courage, by speaking truth even when it is uncomfortable; justice, by treating others fairly in our words; and temperance, by exercising restraint and not saying more than what is necessary. When these virtues shape our conversations, communication becomes not just about exchanging information, but about embodying character and strengthening trust. For example, in conflict, the Stoic seeks to de-escalate by addressing issues calmly and rationally, choosing clarity over accusation, and aiming for resolution instead of victory. This style of speech disarms hostility and creates space for respect, even among those who disagree. Furthermore, by focusing on intention rather than outcome, the Stoic communicator does not measure success by whether others agree or approve, but by whether they themselves spoke with integrity and control. Even in situations where words cannot change another's mind, Stoics recognize that their calm presence and respectful tone can leave a lasting impression, modeling a higher standard of dialogue. In a world where conversations are often dominated by ego, quick tempers, and careless remarks, adopting the Stoic approach helps us become anchors of stability, people who uplift with their speech instead of tearing down. Ultimately, Stoic communication is about aligning words with virtue, listening with patience, speaking with clarity, and remembering that while we cannot control how others interpret our message, we can always control whether our words reflect wisdom and strength. When practiced daily, this approach not only elevates personal character, but also inspires trust, respect, and harmony in every relationship we engage in. 3. The power of listening. The power of listening is one of the most underestimated yet transformative skills a person can develop, because true listening goes beyond simply hearing words. It is about understanding, empathy, and connection. In a world where most people are more eager to speak than to listen, choosing to genuinely pay attention to others immediately sets you apart and strengthens your relationships. When you listen with focus, you send a message that the other person matters, that their voice is valuable, and that their feelings are acknowledged. This act alone builds trust, dissolves misunderstandings, and fosters deeper bonds, whether in friendships, family, leadership, or even casual interactions. The power of listening also lies in its ability to diffuse conflict. When people feel heard, they become less defensive and more open to dialogue, making it easier to resolve problems. Beyond relationships, listening is also an instrument of learning. Every great leader, teacher, or innovator has mastered the art of listening to gain insight from the world around them. By listening, we expose ourselves to perspectives we may have never considered, enriching our minds with wisdom we could not gain alone. Moreover, listening teaches humility, reminding us that we do not know everything and that others have experiences and truths we can learn from. The greatest form of respect you can give to someone is your undivided attention, especially in a society where distractions are constant and many conversations happen half-heartedly. Listening also strengthens emotional intelligence. By noticing tone, pauses, and emotions behind words, we become better at understanding what people truly feel rather than what they superficially say. This deeper awareness allows us to respond with compassion instead of judgment. Furthermore, listening is not passive. It requires discipline, patience, and intentional silence, resisting the urge to interrupt, give premature advice, or shift the focus back to ourselves. By practicing active listening, maintaining eye contact, nodding, summarizing what was said, and asking thoughtful questions, we show that we are engaged participants in the conversation rather than mere bystanders. The power of listening can also transform professional environments, as leaders who listen to their teams create cultures of openness, creativity, and loyalty, while those who fail to listen often breed resentment and disengagement. Even in personal growth, listening inwardly to our own thoughts, feelings, and intuition is equally important, as it helps us align with our values and make wiser decisions. When we stop merely reacting and start truly listening, both externally and internally, we gain clarity and develop stronger self-awareness. Ultimately, listening is not just about communication. It is about connection, healing, and growth. It is the foundation of trust, the bridge to understanding, and the gateway to wisdom. By cultivating the skill, We not only improve our relationships with others, but also elevate the quality of our own lives, because listening teaches us patience, empathy, and the quiet strength of presence. In the end, the power of listening lies in its simplicity. When we give others our full attention, we give them one of the rarest and most meaningful gifts in the modern world. For authenticity over manipulation. In a world where many people try to influence others through subtle tricks, persuasion tactics, or outright manipulation, the value of authenticity stands as a powerful and timeless principle. Authenticity means showing up as your true self, without the masks or pretenses designed to gain approval, attention, or control. When you rely on manipulation, you may gain short-term compliance, but you lose long-term respect, trust, and genuine connection. People can often sense when someone is being insincere or using them as a means to an end, and even if they don't recognize it right away, over time manipulation erodes relationships, breeds resentment, and damages reputations. On the other hand, authenticity is magnetic. It creates trust because others know you're transparent, consistent, and grounded in who you are. Being authentic does not mean being unfiltered or careless with your words. It means aligning your intentions, words, and actions so that others can see you as trustworthy and dependable. Leaders, friends, and partners who embrace authenticity inspire loyalty and confidence because they are not trying to trick or outsmart anyone. They lead by example and integrity. Living authentically also allows you to conserve energy, since you are not constantly calculating or pretending to be someone else. It frees you from the exhausting cycle of keeping up appearances and chasing validation. Most importantly, authenticity strengthens self-respect, because you know that you are standing in truth rather than manipulating others for gain. In personal relationships, authenticity fosters intimacy, because openness creates space for real understanding and acceptance, while manipulation only breeds suspicion and distance. In professional life, authenticity leads to influence, not because you pushed or coerced others, but because your sincerity resonates and inspires people to follow willingly. The Stoics emphasized virtue, honesty, and character over superficial tactics because they understood that manipulation, no matter how clever, corrupts both the manipulator and the one manipulated. Authenticity, however, aligns with wisdom and courage. It takes courage to be real in a world where many hide behind facades. Choosing authenticity over manipulation means valuing long-term respect over short-term gains, building trust rather than exploiting weaknesses, and cultivating genuine bonds instead of fragile illusions. This principle applies in every area of life: friendships, business, leadership, dating, and even self-development. The authentic person may not always be the most popular in the moment, but they will always be the one remembered, trusted, and valued in the long run. Therefore, the lesson is clear. Manipulation might bring you a fleeting advantage, but authenticity builds a foundation of strength, peace, and meaningful relationships that no trick could ever achieve. 5. Confidence in simplicity. In a world that often glorifies complexity, extravagance, and excess, true confidence is found not in trying to impress others with how much we can show, but in the courage to remain simple. Simplicity is not about lack. It is about clarity, authenticity, and freedom from unnecessary noise. Confidence and simplicity means trusting that who you are, without excessive decoration or performance, is already enough. It is a quiet assurance that your worth does not depend on external validation, possessions, or exaggerated displays. When someone embraces simplicity, they naturally project confidence, because there is no need to prove anything. This kind of presence is powerful. People sense honesty, ease, and strength in a person who is comfortable with the basic truths of life. Simplicity also removes the fear of judgment, because when you're not hiding behind layers of pretense, there is nothing left to lose. You become aligned with yourself, and this alignment radiates as genuine confidence. Furthermore, confidence and simplicity teaches us the art of prioritization. When we simplify our words, actions, and even our lifestyle, we cut through distraction and focus on what truly matters. A person who communicates simply often commands more respect than someone who uses complexity to sound impressive. Similarly, living with fewer but meaningful possessions, relationships, and commitments creates a life of deeper fulfillment. This form of confidence does not shout. It speaks softly yet firmly, knowing that strength lies in essence, not excess. Think of a simple truth spoken with conviction. It carries more weight than a long, convoluted explanation. In this way, simplicity becomes a mark of wisdom. It reveals that you do not need to chase validation because you trust in your core. Ultimately, confidence and simplicity liberates the soul. It removes the burden of constantly performing, competing, or comparing, and replaces it with a freedom to just be. When you no longer fear being overlooked, you realize that simplicity is not invisibility. It is influence at its purest. The most impactful people in history often lived and spoke simply, yet their ideas transformed the world. Their confidence was rooted in essence, not embellishment. To embody this principle in daily life, one must practice clarity in thought, honesty in speech, and restraint in action. Instead of overcomplicating choices, one learns to return to what is essential, and this clarity itself creates a powerful inner calm. True simplicity is not plainness, but elegance. It is strength wrapped in humility, a confidence that does not need to announce itself because it is felt. In living simply, you discover that confidence is not built for more. It is revealed when you finally let go of everything unnecessary. 6. Respect builds attraction. Respect is the foundation upon which genuine attraction is built, and without it, no relationship can thrive in the long run. While people often focus on charm, appearance, or material success when trying to attract others, the truth is that nothing creates deeper connection and lasting interest like respect. Respect means valuing someone's individuality, listening to their thoughts, and treating them as an equal rather than an object to be conquered or controlled. It creates safety, trust, and admiration, qualities that are far more powerful than superficial traits. When you respect someone, you communicate that you see their worth, and this recognition has a magnetic effect. Most people are accustomed to being judged, dismissed, or taken for granted. So when they encounter someone who truly values their feelings and perspectives, they naturally feel drawn closer. Respect also shows in the way you respect yourself. If you set boundaries, hold to your principles, and live with integrity, others sense your strength and are more likely to admire you. On the other hand, disrespect, whether through arrogance, belittling comments, or lack of consideration, creates resentment and pushes people away, no matter how attractive you may appear on the outside. Real attraction grows when two people admire not just each other's qualities, but also the way they are treated. A person who feels respected feels seen, safe, and cherished, and that emotional experience becomes a glue that holds attraction together over time. This is why relationships built only on appearance, money, or physical chemistry often fade, while those grounded in respect continue to deepen. Respect turns interest into admiration, admiration into trust, and trust into love. If you want to build lasting attraction, don't just focus on what you can get from someone. Focus on how you make them feel in your presence. Do they feel valued? Do they feel heard? Do they feel safe to be themselves? When the answer is yes, attraction naturally grows. Respect is not about flattery or passive agreement, but about appreciating someone's humanity even when you disagree. It means listening without dismissing, supporting without smothering, and allowing space for individuality within connection. People are drawn to those who elevate them, and respect is the purest form of elevation you can give. Ultimately, respect is not just an action, but a mindset, a consistent way of showing up in relationships with integrity and kindness. It builds a kind of attraction that is steady, strong, and enduring, the type that cannot be shaken by time or circumstance. When you embody respect in how you treat yourself and others, you stop chasing attention and start creating real bonds that people are naturally compelled to invest in. Respect doesn't just build attraction, it sustains it, transforming fleeting interest into lasting connection. 7. Less is more. Less is more is a principle that carries deep wisdom and can be applied to every area of life, from relationships and communication to personal growth and material possessions. At its core, this lesson teaches that true value does not come from excess, but from simplicity, clarity, and intentionality. In a world that constantly encourages us to want more money, more things, more recognition, we often confuse abundance with fulfillment. However, the truth is that having too much often clutters our lives, distracts our minds, and dilutes our sense of purpose. Minimalism, whether in speech, possessions, or habits, strips away what is unnecessary and reveals what is truly important. For example, when we speak less but with intention, our words carry greater power and meaning. People listen more attentively because we are not overwhelming them with noise, but offering depth in simplicity. In relationships, less drama, fewer expectations, and more authenticity allow love and trust to flourish. Similarly, in lifestyle, living with fewer possessions frees us from the burden of constantly chasing the next upgrade, leaving room for gratitude and appreciation of what we already have. Less is more also applies to the inner self. When we quiet the constant chatter of our thoughts and detach from unnecessary desires, we gain peace, clarity, and focus. By removing excess, we create space for growth. This principle is not about deprivation, but about refinement, choosing quality over quantity, depth over shallowness, and essence over appearance. The paradox is that when we simplify, life becomes richer. When we reduce, we expand. And when we let go, we gain more than we ever imagined. Ultimately, the lesson of less is more is a reminder that happiness, wisdom, and strength are found not in endless accumulation,